Hey everyone, Matt here from Native Instruments, and today we're going to take a look at the Complete Now bundle. For $9.99 a month, you can dive into a huge library of NI's premium instruments and effects. This is the perfect bundle for those of you who've been waiting to check out unique and high-quality sounds with a library that's constantly growing in regular product editions, new preset drops, as well as feature updates. Complete Now is a curated bundle that gives you instruments and effects that are perfect for hip-hop, R&B, trap, drill, or chart-topping pop productions. So if you're making beats or upbeat pop hooks, this is the right choice for you. Let's check out what's included in the bundle. Massive X, our flagship synth including over 600 presets from leads, pads, bass, to sequence soundscapes. Cloud Supply, a play series instrument for hazy trap hooks and smoke-soaked atmospherics. Hybrid Keys, blend sampled pianos, synthesizers, mallets, and more with creative effects. Lo-Fi Glow, vintage synths, keys, organs, guitars, and bass processed through analog gear. Retro Machines Mark II, 16 definitive analog synthesizers and keyboards that captures the sound of the original instruments. Battery Now Edition, our cutting-edge drum sampler with 50 tailor-made kits that are designed to make your rhythm tracks pop. Replika, an essential delay with streamlined controls perfect for anything from subtle slapbacks to dizzying echoes. Realm, a reverb that can do everything from abstract echoes to space-time bending ambience in one swift move. You can sign up to the free trial for Complete Now and get the full versions of the plugins to start making music right away. In this video, I'm going to make some beats using the instruments and effects. I'll go over some of the features of each plugin, touch on some creative tips, and use them all together to make two different tracks. First, let's get them up and running on our system. You can install Complete Now with the click of a button. Simply open Native Access, log into your account, and click Install All. Make sure to install Battery and Contact Player to run the Play Series instruments and Retro Machines Mark II. If you want to learn more about the precise steps on installation, check out the video links in the description. Complete Now runs in any DAW. You can use FL Studio, Ableton Live, Cubase, GarageBand, and many others. In this video, I'll be running it in Logic Pro as that's my go-to DAW. But if you're used to making tracks in a different DAW, don't worry. We have videos on how to run Complete Now in all major DAWs. Those links are also in the description. Now, let's jump into it. Let's start with Cloud Supply. I like the effects of this preset, but I want to change the sound source. If you click the magnifying glass, it'll bring up a list of different samples. I'll change the balance to A so we can hear it. I like how this one sounds. Now let's jump over to sound source B. Let's put the balance knob back in the middle and hear them together. Now let's record a melody. We'll quantize all these notes, make them full velocity, and now let's add realm. I'm going to set the mix knob to 0 so you can see how it affects the sound. What I love about realm is it gives the sound a lot of depth with minimal adjustments. Let's do some quick arrangement. I'm just going to duplicate this 5 times. Back on Cloud Supply, I want to automate the balance knob of sound source A and B. In Logic's Mix tab, we'll click Auto Select Automation Parameter in Read Mode. This allows me to click a knob inside the plugin, and it'll let me automate it inside Logic. I'm going to start with the balance of both sound sources, and then when the verse comes in, I only want to hear sound source A. Now once the chorus comes in, I'll automate it so it goes back up and you can hear them both. I have Battery open with the kit and my Machine Micro in MIDI mode. Let's record some drums. We got that in there. Let's change this clap to a snare sample. We'll click on the cell, and then I'm going to go over to samples. I'm going to sort by drums and then snares. This one's great. Let's also change our open hi-hat. Browsing by attribute is super easy. It's also really convenient that it auto-loads the sample into the cell. We'll use the open hat in the chorus. Let's add some snares to the beginning. I worked from the backwards approach here. I built up all my drums in this one region. Now I'm going to copy this to the intro and remove all the cymbals. Then I'll copy this to the second half of the verse. In the first half, I'll remove the snare build, and the second half, we'll leave it so it builds into the chorus. We're also going to copy this over to the chorus, add in that open hi-hat. I'm going to add in a couple extra kick drums, some snares, and a crash cymbal. Before we play this back, the last thing I want to do is automate the cutoff of Battery's master effects in Logic. If you right-click on the parameter, you can select Enable Host Automation. Now we can manipulate this parameter in Logic's automation. I'm going to automate the cutoff filter so it starts fully open and then filters down into the verse. And then for the chorus, we'll open it back up. Let's play that back. This sounds great and really helps build the energy. Now, let's add some bass from Massive X. I'll click on all types to open the browser, go to bass, and find a preset. This one knocks. Let's go to the effects module, click distortion, and turn up the drive. I'm going to extend the release just a bit. Now I want to make the bass glide. If you click the voice tab and then under the polyphony settings, you can turn on legato. Let's get this in the track. Let's quantize all these notes, and then I'm going to copy this over to the verse. I think this part sounds a bit busy for the verse, so I'm just going to take a couple of the notes out. Let's use Lo-Fi Glow and add a cool little riff. On the Effects tab, I'm going to change the Replika delay to a reverb. Let's turn these parameters all the way up. Great, now let's go back to the sound page. On the sound page, I'm going to click LFO1, and I'm going to modulate the volume of sound source A and B to an LFO. I'll turn up the slider next to the volume, I'm going to change the waveform to a square, and then we'll click the note button to sync it to 16th notes. Click RT so it re-triggers every time you hit a key. I'm going to copy those same settings to sound source B, and then let's record. We'll quantize this and then copy it throughout the verse and the chorus. One thing I like to do is use a melody that you've already heard on a different sound. I'm going to take our lead melody and copy it over to Lo-Fi Glow. Let's shift this up an octave. And now to make it a little bit different, I'm going to take the entire MIDI region and stretch it over 4 bars. I'm going to do some quick arranging, so after the second verse, we can go into a bigger chorus. For my second verse, I'm going to cut the drums for the first bar and a half. Then I'll automate the cutoff so it starts high and slowly fades down and then comes back in for the chorus. Here's a quick little tip you can do for transitions. I'm going to play a piano note from Hybrid Keys. I'm going to go to the Effects tab and turn off the delay and reverb. Now I'm going to add Realm and turn the mix and size up to 100%. Perfect. We'll right-click on this MIDI region and bounce it in place. I'm going to take the reverb that was on Hybrid Keys and drag it over to the audio file. Now for the audio file, we'll reverse it and put a long fade. We'll also drag this over to the second verse. Next thing I want to do is add a sequence from Cloud Supply during the chorus. First, let's turn on the sequencer and click the tab. We'll click Retrigger so it starts every time I push a key. Then we'll go down to Scale and switch it to Minor. Let's do something a little weird here and just draw a downward slope. Now let's see how that fits in the mix. There's a little dissonance, but it's kind of unique. Let's extend all these note lengths and then copy it over to the second chorus. Now let's add a pad from Massive playing that progression with some chords. I want to add an LFO to the amp level. I'll click the arrows above L5 and drag it over to the amp level. I'll turn the volume down and drag up on L5 so the LFO is pumping the volume up. I'll click on Free and change it to Sync. Then I'll change Loop to Loop Restart. Now let's just add Realm to this to give it a little space. Great, let's add this to the second chorus. I think we're in a good place here. Let's play it back from the top. This track is sounding great with just a few plugins. Now, let's start a new project and make something with more of a pop vibe. With an instance of Hybrid Keys open, I'm going to click on the preset browser and go to Lo-Fi Piano. We'll turn the sequencer on, then we'll turn off layer routing so it doesn't re-trigger the note. Now let's go over to macro 5 and 6. What I want to do is make the reverb slowly turn up over 16 steps. I'll turn the rate down to eighth notes, then I'll turn the amount of reverb to 100%. Now I'll manually draw in a ramp from 0 all the way to 100. Let's see what that sounds like. Over on the Effects tab, I'm going to select the reverb and just turn up some of the parameters to really intensify the effect. Now let's record. Got that in there. I'm going to quantize everything and extend the note lengths. Now let's jump over to battery. I already have a kit selected. Let's go ahead and record a drum groove. Again, I like to work from the backwards approach. So first I'll quantize everything, double this to make it 4 measures, and then double it again to make it 8 measures. On the first 4, I'm going to remove all the cymbals so it's just a kick and a snare. That way when the verse comes in, it's a little bit bigger. Now let's add the effect plugin Replika and see how we can manipulate our drums. You can really do some unique things with delays on drums. I'm going to add a preset that gives it a filter effect. Now I'm going to automate the mix knob of Replika so the intro has the effect and the verse doesn't. Let's jump over to Lo-Fi Glow and add some bass. I'm going to use the macro to turn off the phaser, and then I'm going to turn the balance a little bit more over to sound source A. Let's record the bass line for the verse. We got that in there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and let's add another instance of Lo-Fi Glow and find a cool guitar sound. I really like the tone of this. I just want to get rid of some of the crackles, so we'll use sound source A. That sounds clean. I'm going to layer in a verse melody and play through the pre-chorus. Now that we have our pre-chorus progression, let's check out Retro Machines Mark II for some pads and synths. We can flip through these sound variations to make it a bit more unique. I like how this one sounds. Let's throw it in the mix. With another instance of Retro Machines, I found this cool arpeggiator I want to layer in the pre-chorus. This one's cool because the arpeggiator actually affects the sound variation. I'm going to change this from random to up so it's consistent. Now let's add this to the pre-chorus. While this ARP's already pretty cool, why not give it a little extra sauce by adding Replika and using it as a reverb? What's great about Complete Now is there's so many high quality presets that you don't even need to change. You can layer them in your track and they're going to sound great as they are. I found this cool bass from Massive X called Sub Pop. Let's add this to the pre-chorus as well. With the bass in there, let's head back over to Battery and record a drum build. I'm going to go back to the mix automation from Replika and turn it off right before my snare pickup. I'm also going to automate all the volumes of the melodies to cut off right before that count. This will be a cool transition into the chorus. While we have Battery open, let's change our shaker one shot to a loop. On the right hand side, I'm going to go to percussion, then I'm going to go to shakers. This one's great, but it doesn't play in time. It's at 88 BPM. I'm going to switch the sampler engine to stretch. Then we'll click Pro, and I'll turn up the speed. Perfect, now it'll fit with our song. Before we record this, I want to find some sound effects. On the browser, I'll click on sound effects, and now we can scroll through a few. For these samples, I want to use the audio file in Logic. If you right-click on the sample, you can view it in your computer's file browser and drag it into your DAW. Let's also grab a noise sample while we're here. Let's mute both of those for now. I'm going to copy over the verse drums to the chorus, and then we're going to add in a few more layers. A couple extra kicks, snares, and then I'm also going to add the shakers. That shaker is definitely going to give the chorus some movement. Now, let's do some arranging. I'm going to take the piano and add it to the chorus. On the second half, I'll take the MIDI notes and add another octave. Let's also layer the bass line from the verse and the chorus as well. This is one of my favorite things to do, is use the sounds you've already heard and use them as layers in the chorus. I'm going to copy the MIDI notes from the bass to the guitar. We'll shift them up an octave and also add an additional octave. Now let's take the MIDI from the piano and move it over to the Retro Machines pad. I'm going to simplify the melody and extend all the note lengths. Let's play that back. Here's a cool synth sound I found in Massive X. Let's layer in a nice little pulse. Let's quantize it and double it, and then the last thing I want to do is add in all my sound effects. Before we mess with the audio files, I have an instance of Massive X open with a riser. A lot of presets have different performer options. For this one, you can change the length of the riser. I'm going to keep mine at 8 bars. I'm going to draw in a MIDI note, and then we'll extend it to 4 measures. I'm going to add realm so it hangs over into the verse, and then I'll automate the volume so it fades in. I'm also going to drag this over to the pre-chorus and automate the volume so it cuts off on the snare. Now, let's check out some of these audio samples. I'm going to take this impact and move it over to the downbeat of my pre-chorus. Then I'm going to trim it and reverse it into itself. This should give us a smooth transition into the pre-chorus. Now with this noise, I'm going to do something similar. I like how the tail of it is longer than the rise, so I'm actually going to use the tail as the build. We'll reverse it and then trim it so it stops right before the verse comes in. I'll add a long fade from the top, and then we'll add realm so it hangs over into the verse. Set the mix to 100% and the size to 100% as well. Let's see how this sounds. Last thing on this track is just arranging the sound effects and adding the piano at the end. Let's play it back from the top. And that's the Complete Now bundle. The best thing about this bundle is we'll regularly keep adding full products, fresh new presets, as well as feature updates to keep you inspired. You can expect new Play Series instruments, creative effect plugins, Massive X expansions, as well as a regular stream of new battery kits. Thanks for tuning in. Head over to nativeinstruments.com to start your free trial and get creative with Complete Now.